Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Business and it's time for a review. This time it's going to be on the Tier 7 German cruiser, the Yorck, a ship that is, well, kind of like the Pensacola. It has a bad rap and I don't really think it necessarily applies to this ship. I will say my first two matches, I thought it lived up to everything that everybody had mentioned about it, that it was crap, blah, 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 blah. Well, after I started playing it a little bit more, and now I think, at 30 games with it, wow, this is easily one of my favorite cruisers in the game. That's saying something. Now, the big thing that has helped the Yorck was a buff that I think it had a 51-second turret traverse when they first introduced it, and then they buffed it down to 34 seconds or something in that range. And so, running expert marksman, it's down to 30.5 seconds for a 180-degree turret traverse. Huge, huge help. And I did play this, I think it was on the test server, so I got to experience the old version of it, and it was terrible. Now, you only have two upgrades with the ship, right? So you have the B hull and the FCS upgrade. The B hull adds AA defense, which I'll say this much. This is one of those ships that has an overrated AA defense rating. You shouldn't be paying attention to the AA rating in itself anyways. It doesn't necessarily mean much of anything. If the Kirov, for instance, is an excellent example, which we'll get to in a future video. Horribly overrated ship, very ineffective in my experience at shooting down much of anything. And the Murmansk is still the best ship at tier 5 as far as cruisers are concerned now, with the Texas being released for AA defense. And generally this ship is pretty damn maneuverable. The hull upgrade gives it a little bit more of a boost on the rudder shift down to 6.5 seconds and a 650 meter turning radius. That is very, very good. Also, it has 13.9 kilometer concealment. That's not the greatest, of course, but the torpedoes, traditional setup for the German ships as well. You have 6 each side, and you also have the 6 kilometer range. For the modules, go with the main battery mod 1. I go with the accuracy upgrade, and again, you can see with the AA gun mod 2, that rating, considering you don't have much to work with, it's surprising that it's up that high. So I think it's related to the caliber of the guns that are associated with the AA defense, and that's what actually boosts it to higher than what it actually is in terms of the true effectiveness. For some reason, I'm running basic firing training. I'm not entirely sure why. I think at some point I'm going to have to respec this captain, hopefully sooner rather than later, so I don't use up more gold. But I run situational awareness, expert marksman, definitely plan on getting last stand, and vigilance. I do recommend vigilance over superintendent, no real reason to run that, and do run demo expert as well. Advanced firing training, not really much of a help. I mean, you could do an AA build on this, but honestly, there are much better ships for it. Concealment expert in the future will be a very nice touch. I think it'll get down to like 12.4, and I'm not expecting to invisifire with this, but at the same time, having a little bit more concealment would be rather helpful. So just taking a look at the camos here, and they all look pretty good except for this one. And that doesn't mesh well with Tanz's skin here, so I'm going to go ahead and quit that, because I'm sure as hell not paying gold for a skin. As far as signal flags are concerned, nothing really to run on this. Since I just researched the Hipper, I'm going to go ahead and take that flag off. If you throw on the Sierra Mike flag, it gets a little faster, but again, not that much. And of course, the AA flag helps a little bit. I do have the military month contributor flag for completing that series of missions, so nice little set of bonuses there. Now, the torpedo arcs on the ship are as excellent as pretty much any other German cruiser. You can pretty much throw these things forward. Really nice touch. But take a look at this. 11.66 seconds for the HE to hit out to max range. 15.01 for the AP. And that's where a big amount of the complaints come in with this ship, is that the AP is useless, blah blah blah. And a lot of times I would actually agree. There are a lot of instances where the AP is just I don't want to say ineffective, because it actually is very effective out to its max range against a variety of targets. It's just that it's damn near impossible to hit anything with it, and the reason for that is because, just think of it, alright, you have an Otago running, say 35 knots, parallel to you, but going the opposite direction, and you're supposed to have a 14-second shell lead on a ship that's going like that. You're basically looking 2 screens over with AP, and that's a huge amount of lead, and the likelihood of you actually hitting a target at that range, that speed, something that's that maneuverable. Hell, I mean, a Montana, you would be hard pressed to hit a Montana if he's going full tilt and is preparing to move. So it's just one of those things where, until you get comfortable and until you start to recognize those situations as they are, you're going to probably want to use HE for the most part, and that's where Demolition Expert comes in to help maximize your damage potential and your overall output in a given match. And what you're seeing here is rather confusing to me as well. I realized I had overextended. I didn't have much in the way of help over here in terms of people being exposed as well with me, or not exposed like showing their broadside, just other ships that can also take some shots, and I just was afraid of going forward, and for some reason the guy didn't bother firing at me, so what the hell. I mean, I'm just a lowly Yorck. I mean, what type of threat am I to the rest of the team, right? Now, 6,400 at that angle against the New Mexico into the center of a ship like that is pretty damn good. And, when playing the Yorck, I feel like this is it fits like a glove in the sense that it has a very respectable reload at 12 seconds. It has very respectable HE, like certainly better in my opinion than the Pensacola's HE. I feel a lot better shooting this HE than I do the Pensacola's. The AP, it has its moments to shine when you lead properly and you're at relatively close range. I mean, again, sub 10 kilometers, this is incredibly dangerous. Basically, this is a pocket battleship, and that's the way I suggest treating it, is keeping it at range, but knowing when to move in is, of course, it's a crucial aspect of being able to play any ship effectively, and especially something like a cruiser. And the funny thing is, it's listed in the port that this only has 80 millimeters of armor. I gotta say, this is one of the trolliest damn ships in the game. I have such a hard time trying to kill enemy Yorks. It's like, I think I've said this before. I've actually, I've missed an entire salvo against a Yorck at 4 kilometers on trap in my Fuso, and then my follow-up salvo, I hit him, I think, 6 times, and only 2 shells penetrated, but those were overpens. The other 4 bounced. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of luck when facing against this ship. It's just one of those ships, kind of like the New Orleans. I never really seem to do well against it in any ship, so I'd rather just avoid it, let somebody else kill it. But managed to get a crack in that match, and that was a pretty damn good one. I think that was my last match of the day before I had to head off to work, so kind of funny. But this one, we are on 2 brothers, of course, and trying to figure out something that we can do here to keep our lead. So we do have an allied ship on the enemy cap, and so as you can see, a few of these ships are heading back to try to respond to that. And I've got my HE rolling very well against this Colorado here, just trying to keep him off balance, like I've said in other videos, try to get him to acknowledge the fact that I'm shooting at him, so he'll start turning and whatnot, and just trying to throw him off balance so my guy that's on the cap can hopefully last a bit longer, or just make something happen. So just fast forwarding a bit, that guy in the cap died. So unfortunately I did what I could here, but it just wasn't enough. New Mexico is crawling down the 1 line here, and I switch to AP, and I do a no-look pass over the island, and just scoping things out again. He comes back up, and 4,200 on 8 hits. So, you know, and that's the interesting thing, is when you start using, and like you dial in an enemy battleship, you realize how effective 8-inch guns, and obviously 8.01-inch guns, such as the Yorck has here, it can really be effective using AP. Obviously, you want to try to get these guys on fire and, you know, get through their consumables and just, like I said, keep them off balance. And this is disappointing. Look at this. Son of a bitch. I should have killed that guy outright. Cami is in his Nagato here, and I was really hoping I was going to be able to kill this dude, and then I follow it up with just a terrible salvo. Just really poorly aimed there. And so he's going to get his secondaries into the fight here, and boom. Like probably his 100th close quarters expert kill there. And by the way, I just want to throw this out there too for you guys watching. On Wednesday, he is going to have his 1,000 follower giveaway stream, so just want to throw that out there while the Texas is still in the shop. And he's got a bunch of other things planned as well, so feel free to swing by his channel and check that out, and I'll mention that again later. And be sure to check the description, I'll provide the link for that. But shit gets real here. Yeah, Kami died, and I am against a few ships here in our cap. So Sims dumps his torps and gets dumped by my torps. So they look like, I think those are the upgraded torps, the what is it, the 9.2 kilometer but 55 knot torps or something like that. They're really terrible. But yeah, the Sims is a ship that I know is really fun to maneuver with and like mess around with, but as far as using torps, good luck. that ship I think could probably use another bit of a buff there. But anyways, yeah, this is not a situation you really want to find yourself in, having a New Mexico shoot at you and trying to defend against a destroyer that's only a couple kilometers away, or not even. Now, I make a mistake here. One, I should have been using Control X to bring my turrets around a little bit more effectively. You could see that I just wasn't really doing that, and I should have slowed down a bit to kind of split those last two spreads there. I really could have gone through that without taking damage, but one of those hindsight things, be like, damn, if I just did this a little differently, I would have been able to, you know, not take that damage. Now, this guy's totally screwed because he's on his torp reload, and I've got my guns that are much better than his, and my torps that have a very quick reload, and he's a goner. So now I get to dance around with the New Mexico, and I've got HE loaded, ready to go, switch over to AP, and this is where the ship is really, really effective. And I mean, this is true for all cruisers, really. I mean, you get that ass wiggling thing going on where you're going away from an enemy, that, especially one that has a long reload, and especially something like the New Mexico, which is 35 seconds, and you can just dance the night away with this ship. I mean, God, that sounds stupid, but as far as the penetration's concerned, I mean, you're going to see 2,400, 2,500 damage just constantly, and for me, that's pretty impressive, considering that this is, you know, 11, 10 kilometer ranges, and I have to make a risk here, and I turn around. I'm doing a 180 here because of the fact that we have ships on our cap, and if he gets into a position to fire over the channel, they could reset, and we could be in an issue, have an issue here if our guys on the cap die. So I wanted to make sure that this guy was paying attention to me for as long as possible while my teammates were able to continue the cap, and that's exactly what happened. So we ended up winning that match. Now let's switch up to fault line here, and this match was extremely interesting in the way that it played out, and how our team, with a clear lack of spatial awareness and map awareness, because, I mean, look at this, we're 300 points down, and pardon the steel beaching here on Kami, we're 300 points down, it's 6 minutes in. the enemy hasn't lost a ship and we've lost 3. Now they finally lost one. But the team that's still at A, I mean, we've been able to see all these guys on the map for quite a while, and they only just started turning to get to the middle and get involved in the fight. It's one of those things where you just hit that plus sign on your numpad, or you know, your plus sign key, blow up that mini-map and pay attention, because none of this should be a surprise to anybody when this type of stuff happens. And a lot of times you get into situations where people have to pretty much do things that really shouldn't be asked of them. You know, you should be able to outnumber these guys and focus them down, that sort of thing. And I decided to move south here because things were getting a bit hot and heavy there at B, and I honestly didn't want to be part of that. I did see this Congo that was heading south, and I feel very confident taking the ship up against the Congo. I think it actually matches up very well because, again, it's basically like a miniature battleship. You know, the penetration values are really good, but the problem is my plans on that engagement got messed up because there's an enemy destroyer and he's shooting AP, and he's paying attention, so he knows what's up as far as shooting the exposed side of a cruiser with AP. Now, I had to dump torps earlier than I anticipated. I'm not sure if this guy realized that I had torps. I'm not even sure if this guy realized he had a repair button, but whatever. Yeah, his fires just go out, and you saw a bunch of ricochets there. He was obviously at a sharp enough angle to deflect my shells. He flattened out a little bit, took 4 torps, and gets killed by the AP there. So, very fine line between bounce and penetration, of course. It's always something to just bear in mind. Alright, so at this point we're down still 330 points, and time is starting to run out. As far as both the clock, I mean, we're past the halfway point, and the fact that they're only 235 points away from winning by points. So the big thing that happened here that I didn't even notice until I started making this video was the ship that's up there in B3 was really helping to pull the Cleveland and the Nagato away from the fight, which would certainly be enough to help prevent us from being able to cap B. And thankfully, the Atlanta pulled a me there and decided to go ahead and beach in front of a whole mess of ships. He takes some damage there from me, and I do have shots coming in from a Miyoko and also a Königsberg. And if this were any other ship, if I were using any other ship, this would have been a great salvo. But because it's a Yorck and I didn't lead anywhere near as much as I should have, it's way behind. And then naturally I try to adjust my lead, and the targeting system goes ahead and sends the shots into the island for no real reason whatsoever. Now I'm trying to maintain the cap here, so you can see I'm trying to maneuver and stay within the cap circle. Gets pretty close, I start cutting my speed a little bit, and now I've got to deal with the fact that there's a Nagato ahead of me, and I'm going to have to turn. So I finally get the cap though, I point towards him and reassess my situation here. I've got the Cleveland up ahead, and I am anticipating this Nagato to fire at me, so that's why I'm doing that little shimmy there, and I get a bit of a lead there on the Cleveland, and I have to turn out. I can't get any closer to this Nagato, and it feels like it's gonna hurt. But I at least get the Cleveland. We did lose our guy there that was in B3, and I get nailed in the process as I turn. Try to get one final little salvo out, and now that I'm going to be exposed to the Königsberg, I'm turning hard to port, trying to bring my ship back in, so in case the guy's using AP, I don't get completely wrecked. I did flatten out a little bit there, kind of surprising, but consider my lead here, like, he's not far away. I mean, he's under 10 kilometers, and I still have to lead that much, and I managed to get a Citadel and put him down. So now we're just a little bit over 100 points down, and we just lost another ship. So we're back to the roughly 100 point mark there, and get some decent damage here against the New Mexico. Not bad. So the AP doing some work there, and New Mexico down. Now we've got the lead finally. Huge comeback, and managed to get a crack in here, finish off that Miyoko. Oh, that felt so good, honestly. A hell of a match overall. And this is actually footage from today. I fired off my AP against the Fuso there that was packing up. I had lit him on fire, and you could see that one little fire burning at the end of the ship there. But check this out. From downtown, double citadel on the side of a Fuso. Yeah, this AP really is no joke, and the ship in general isn't a joke either. I mean, look at it. I have a huge amount of screenshots of really good matches. This one that you're seeing here and the following one, I'm going to put them into a video together because there's a lot to go over, and it really just goes to show that, you know, despite overwhelming odds and various things like that, like this is a ship that can really get a win despite various disadvantages that people perceive. And granted, everybody has their own flavor, everybody has their own preference, their play style and things like that. For me, this is basically a small battleship, and I treat it as such, as you no doubt saw throughout the various clips, and you will definitely see in the future clips with this as well. I plan on keeping and playing this like crazy. I think it suits me very well, but to each their own, and you know, my results are not going to be yours, and yours are not going to be mine. So that's just how it is. But as far as the ship is concerned, I do just want to again reiterate that using the general guideline, above 10 kilometers to your max range, use HE, because you'll be very comfortable with using that. It's really solid in terms of the shell travel time. It shouldn't be anything that you're not used to. And below 10 kilometers, use it when you get the chance. Use AP against the flat sides and whatnot, and I think that'll serve you very well. I do just want to point out that you're probably going to want to give about a half boat length more lead than you would otherwise have at those ranges regardless with AP, so just a heads up on that. So aside from the AA being pretty weak and having to adapt to specific situations even more so than usual with AP, I would say this is one of my favorite ships in the game. Yeah. And seeing as it's 5 a.m. and I still have a lot of work to do to get this up and running on YouTube, I'm not going to stream today. I need some rest. And feel free to follow me on Twitter, though I can keep you up to date on that if that changes. I did just want to say, again, Wednesday, Cami's going to have an NA-only, follower-only giveaway stream for hitting 1,000 followers on Twitch, so swing by and check that out. And I hope today's video was informative and helpful to you, maybe give you some more to think about with the Yorck. But thank you for watching, guys. Take care.